Hey everybody, I hope everybody's doing well. I'm making this video so that we can all be on the same page on how we're setting up our printers and how we're setting up the slicers, um, and to share some stuff that I've found already. So I've printed one already. So the first one took about an hour and a half to print on my Ender 3, which is a different printer. It's not as nice as the MakerBots. Um, it fits a normally 3-hole punch piece of paper well, so if we did get plastic sheets, just using a 3-hole punch to punch the holes in it would be perfect. Um, Something I did notice though is I printed this at 50% infill, and it cracked a little bit when I pulled it off the print bed. So we may want to mess with the infill settings a little bit to make it a little more rigid or robust. So that'll be something that I mess with, and I'll share anything that I find. So the rest of this video, I'm going to show you how I set up the slicer, and then I'm going to make another video showing how I set up my printer. So I'm going to be using the MakerBot Print Slicer program. If you don't have it on your computer, you Google MakerBot Slicer and click on the first link there. The newest version is the one that I'm using, I think. And when you open it up, the first thing it'll do when you log in is ask you to sign in. So if you don't have a MakerBot account, you can sign up really quick. It's free. So you just need a username and password to log in. And then once you get logged in, your screen will look like this. Down here in the bottom right, you'll notice it says to add printer. We're going to want to add the Replicator Plus, which is the type of printer that we're using. So if we click on the red plus symbol and then add an unconnected printer, scroll down at the bottom and hit Replicator Plus. Now we're all set to go. So our slicer is now configured for our printer. We're going to go to the upper left to the project panel, and then we're going to add a model. And I emailed everybody the unzipped version of the STL file that we're going to be using. So wherever you have that saved, we're going to double click on that one. And it's in. So the way this comes oriented, at least on mine, this is not the way that we want to print it. We'd like to lay it down flat. And if you zoom in really close, these notches that are where the paper attaches to, you'll notice it's flush with the one on the right hand side, but it doesn't touch the left hand side. So we would like to print this with this facing down so that there's no supports needed. If we print it the other way, the slicer will add in supports to print these things because there's nothing underneath them to hold them up. So we're going to click on our object, and we're going to click on the orient button, and we're going to rotate this 90 degrees, and it looks like I picked the right way. And we're just going to move this to the center, and it should be positioned the way that we want it to be positioned. So the other thing that we may want to do is mess with some settings, like the infill settings, like I mentioned already, and any other setting that may help us print faster. The first time I sliced this, it was about 2 hours. I think if we change a couple things, we can get it down quite a bit. So under print settings, the first thing that we want to do, the default is a balanced option, which has a higher quality, but not so much. It takes longer to print. We want to go for a draft, which is much quicker. It won't be as nice of a print, but I don't think that will be really important for this. We're also going to go to the custom settings, and we're going to go to infill and infill percentage. Like I said, the percentage that I used on my first one was 50%. My suspicion is with MakerBot, it's probably 50% infill is probably better on a MakerBot than on other printers, but this may be something we want to change. Also, the infill pattern, MakerBot gives you a lot of different options, and I know very little about the different options, but some of them are better for strength and some are better for speed. And really, I think the only way to figure out is to click on each one, slice it, and then find out what the time is. So that'll be something that I'll try to do, but we could all try to do it and see if what we find. So once we have our infill pattern, there's some other settings under I think under printer, the travel speed may be something we want to mess with. Um, there's probably the print speed and the first model layer. So there's lots of different places where we can change the speed if we want to really get this time down, or we could just come back every hour and a half instead of every hour or whatever. So once we have all the settings the way that we want it, we are going to hit export. And I did this once already, so it's already on my flash drive, but you're going to want to save it to a flash drive if you have one. Otherwise, you could just save it to your desktop and then get a flash drive later. But we're going to go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to replace the one I did before. And once this red bar is done, then it'll be good to go. And so with the draft setting, that takes about a half an hour off the print time. So we could mess with the other settings and see if we can get this down any further. But that's it for this video. I'm going to make a second video showing how to make sure the printer is set up correctly. So good luck.